what is sex trafficking exactly? Have I ever because let me be honest with you. We saw Boosie, what Boosie came out and said, where he was like, man, this is what all entertainers do. When we're seeing, from my perspective, what we're seeing what Puff is doing or what they accuse him of doing, we've seen it done every day in our careers. Like, it's like you go to parties and there's a bowl if you want ecstasy pills. Like, you get to partake in it if you or not. But why are they going after him? Like, what is sex trafficking like? What is it that he's doing? Like, I just want to understand.
So let me read the definition first and let's break it
Perfect.
down. This is the definition from the United States Department of Justice. And it says it's the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, or soliciting of a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, coercion, or if the person is under 18, then that's something different.
What is a commercial sex act?
So a commercial sex act is any sex act where someone or where something of value was given, promised, or received by any person. This can include gifts, clothing, protection, food, shelter, right? So
that sounds like a relationship to me.
But so
okay.
The element though is that was there force, fraud, or coercion for
so what
the act of
what
sex?
Is force, what is fraud, and what is coercion? Like, how can someone force fraud or how do you do that? Like,
easy answer for force is
of
right?
course.
So fraud or coercion is, am I lying and telling you that I'm going to pay your bills if you do this for me? Then I don't pay your bills. Or do I lie and tell you I'm going to give you a job and I don't? I'm going to pay for your college and I don't. I'm going to pay for your daycare. You mentioned that earlier.
Wow.
Any lie in order to get that sex act, right? That's fraud.
So hold on. All men have done that since the beginning of time. Like, not being funny enough, but men have done that, period. And we're not going to use the R word anymore. We're not going to use the R word right there anymore because they don't like that word, right? So even though this is legal, I got it. But what I'm saying is like, so basically what it sounds to me is that any man in history.
But you got to meet all of these elements, though,
okay.
Right? So was there some type of exchange of value for the act of sex, right? Because if it's just a relationship, if we're dating, we're hanging out, we're having fun, I'm not giving you something for you to be with me. But it becomes different if the whole purpose or the exchange is about something of value.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
But isn't that what happens every day? Like, you meet a woman, especially in Atlanta, like, I call Atlanta it's a transactional city, right? You meet a girl and she be like, we can hang out, but I need help with this, right? And you might do it for the first month, but then you might experience her and be like, no, this ain't worth it. And now you backed off. Can she sue?
So the first part of your question, if there's some exchange or offer of exchange of value, that will make it a commercial sex act. Now, do you have that other element?
Yes.
Is there fraud? Is there coercion? Is there force?
Yep.
If there's none of that, then no.
Well, the fraud, though, can be a lie.
Right, but did the act take place under force, fraud, or coercion? Right. Gotcha. So there's two different elements, and you have to meet both. You can have sometimes you have one or the other, but not necessarily both.
Yeah.
I think in order to have both, in order to have a case, you need both.
Yeah.
And I think those are what the allegations against Puff right now is that he has both and then some. So some of the allegations in the indictment are that he used drugs to take people's free will away, if you will.
For sure.
In order to control them to do what he wanted. He allegedly paid people to perform these acts. There was, the fraud in terms of him controlling folks' careers,
yes.
Controlling folks' salaries.
So it's the coercion and fraud comes from him being the boss, if you will, and having all these characters who are playing roles that he's basically directing.
Right.
And to me, that sounds like a game that most powerful men have played. So is this the end of that era, you think? Like, I know there are people in entertainment, I'm being honest with you, that are shitting their boots. Because they're like, what did I do wrong? Like, and it was just sex, drugs, rock and roll. So then people came after it. So I want to ask you, like, so why did and I have a lawyer friend, and she told me something. She said when the DEA or whoever, remember when they organized the kicking in of his doors in Miami and LA at the same time, when they did that, first of all, why was cameras there? Why were helicopters there? They had to have let the news know for it to happen at the same time. That's a game that the DA plays. This might be selling out your whole world, so
No.
Okay.
I'm all about transparency and doing things the right way. It could have been a leak from an office.
Got you.
So someone was alerted, like, hey, this is about to go down. This is a big story.
Got you.
And that's very commonplace in DA's offices, which is part of the corruption, which is part of why a lot of people get upset with. I mean, there's several reasons to be upset with law enforcement and the justice system, and we can touch on those too. So yeah, that's part of it.
So let's go through a short, like just a miniature timeline.
Yeah.
Cassie files her lawsuit. All the blogs are talking about it. Oh my God, he was having sex with men and women and these freak-offs. It was almost like gossip, right? In the form of a lawsuit, he pays, right? Then once he paid, a lot of other lawsuits followed, right? Because he paid literally the next day, right? He didn't fight it in court. So now all these other lawsuits follow. Then here comes the DEA or the federal government kicking in both of his doors at the same time to gather intel on him, right? And my lawyer friend said at that moment, if you were a lawyer, he was fucked. Right? She said, I would have told him, and she's a defense attorney. She said, I would have told him, you need to get your stuff together because you're fucked. Right? Because what are they in your house for? And they, mind you, when they broke in the house from our perspective, we was like, this seems a little excessive to put guns in front of his kid's face. I mean, all he did was have sex with a couple women, and then it was like, now it's like serious. And now everybody's like, hold up. I can get hit with a RICO because of things that he's done, and outside of blowing up a car and the physical violence, right? Which to me, neither one says federal indictment. They say crimes, but they don't say government coming after you. They usually say crimes for whoever did it. So I wanted to ask you, when was the Cassie lawsuit, was that the nail in the coffin, or was that the spark that opened up the doors for everybody to come, in your opinion?
The spark to open up the doors. I think without Cassie, the government wouldn't have necessarily had some of the information that they would have needed to bring this indictment forward. And if you look at this indictment, I brought a copy of it.
Let's go.
It's only 14 pages, right?
Okay.
For everything we've been talking about, I would think that it would be 114 pages. But indictments can be amended. So I think right now this is kind of a skeleton or bare bones foundation in place.
Yes.
And I mean, even with what's here, I mean, I think my gut is saying 20 years at least. But what's going to happen now, because it's an ongoing investigation, right? They can add more charges as more victims come forward, as they find more evidence of the things that he may have allegedly done. So I think Cassie giving us the video of what happened to her in the hotel, I think that changed a lot of people's perspective, where it went from, gossip, maybe victim shame. And a lot of times, unfortunately, women aren't believed when they talk about things that have happened to them by men. And I wish that part of our culture were different. Me being a husband to a black woman and a father of 3 daughters, we got to pay more attention to when people come forward. And I have friends who are survivors of sexual assault, and just I know their stories. A lot of times when they would tell their parents or family members, they weren't believed, and then a lot of times that's why things get swept under the rug. So I think Cassie definitely helped open the doors up.
Yeah.
And then you got to think about the law that New York had, where I'm not well versed on it because I don't practice in New York, where they expanded the statute of limitations for victims of sexual assault.
And that's when everything came
right,
at once.
Right.
Why do you think they did that? Well, you think that was, do you think from that, I've never heard of something like that. Let's open it up for a couple months.
I mean, it could have been pressure on the legislators. It could have been pressure on victims advocates groups. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and kind of taking a little tangent, just for everybody out there who thinks that voting does not matter.
Yes.
That's a perfect example of why voting matters. Voting impacts every aspect of our life